September is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. We're using this opportunity to call on all of our citizens to shine a light on human trafficking. And I'm going to start with asking you to take a look at the monitors so you can see a PSA that we have available and will be running. We're working hard to end human trafficking in our community, and you can help by participating in a special event on September 24th.
It's called Shine a Light on Human Trafficking, and it will include community gatherings throughout the greater Houston area, where you can learn how to recognize the signs
and how to report suspicious behavior so we can stop children and adults from being exploited for sex and labor. To find the gathering near you, go to shinealighthouston.org.
And let's all shine a light on human trafficking. A screening of Sunny Square, a film about human trafficking filmed in Houston, followed by discussion. It will also involve a lot of our various groups that have been part of the Human Trafficking Task Force over the last year. Human trafficking, very simply, is modern-day slavery. It's defined as the buying and selling of people for the purpose of forced, defrauded, coerced services, labor, or sex. We tend to think of human trafficking as being about the sex trade, and it often is, but human trafficking can also be about forced, unpaid labor as well. It is a crime. It is a crime everywhere in the world, and it is a crime that should not happen in the United States. Houston is considered a hub for human trafficking because we are a major international trade port, and people from all over the world come through Houston. Not all of them are here by choice. Human trafficking can be international. Human trafficking can be domestic, meaning that those individuals who are trafficked can be U.S. citizens, or they can be individuals brought in from other parts of the world. More than a year ago, I created a human trafficking task force to look at what we could do in Houston to improve the situation. I'm joined by some of the task force members, including the chair, Maria Trujillo, of Houston Rescue and Restore Coalition. Human trafficking is something that we work on day in and day out in law enforcement. The Houston Police Department, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, we work closely with federal agencies that are engaged in these initiatives, but there's a lot more that we can do as citizens to help out law enforcement. My human trafficking task force presented me with some strategies, including training 311 and frontline City of Houston staff on the issue of human trafficking, the kinds of questions to ask, and what to do if someone wants to report human trafficking. We created a resource list and map that includes all of the organizations that we have identified that work to address the problem in our city. And then finally, we've come up with a series of initiatives that you'll be hearing about in the coming months, and we will work with our federal counterparts. Senator Cornyn will be having a human trafficking roundtable and presentation later on today that I will be taking part in. Identifying victims is the primary goal of the Shine a Light campaign and providing resources to those victims. We will certainly help the law enforcement aspect as is appropriate, but we believe that this is just an area that we as citizens, as civilians, can have a bigger impact in. We want to give citizens the tools they need to recognize and report human trafficking situations, help identify victims, and report suspicious situations to authorities. We're going to be kicking off the Shine a Light on Human Trafficking campaign on September the 24th. The main event will be here at City Hall, but there will be other sites, including the Houston Galleria, multi-service centers, and neighborhood venues. We want to get the message out into the community where it's most accessible. And we want people to, as we roll it out over the next few weeks, we'll provide information on which locations are available so that folks can come. There is a website now. It's shinealighthouston.org, shinealighthouston.org. That should be the resource hub to which people should go in order to get more information. The website features educational PSAs, information about the September events, and various related resources. And so we know that working together, we can shine a light on human trafficking and end this form of modern-day slavery. Now, I am here to offer a proclamation announcing that September 2013 is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. This is actually the 150th anniversary of President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, declaring freedom from slavery. But unfortunately, with human trafficking, slavery still exists in this country. More than 21 million people worldwide are victims of human trafficking, both forced labor and sexual servitude. The National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline receives a higher volume of calls from Houston than any other city in Texas. We have to come together to fight this as a community. It's not just enough to leave it to law enforcement. And again, we are here today to announce that there's going to be a series of public awareness events through the month of September to help citizens better engage. Therefore, I, Annise Parker, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proclaim September 2013 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in Houston, Texas. And I'm going to invite Ms. Trujillo to accept the proclamation from me and from the council members who are assembled here. And I thank you for chairing the task force. No one anticipates that the work of the task force has ended. Now it's the next phase of the work. And I'm going to invite you to speak a little bit about what's happening now in the task force.
Sure, thank you. We're excited. We've had a lot of work that we've accomplished in this first year of the task force. One, putting together a major public awareness campaign, which Mayor Parker announced with the Shine a Light Houston campaign, which we will, at the campaign, will be providing pocket cards to community members throughout the city to teach people how they could be part of the solution. Because really, every person can be a part of that solution to bring an end to human trafficking. Here's an example of that pocket card that people will be getting on September 24th. We really believe that it really takes the entire community to come together around this issue to bring a true end to slavery in our city. And we're excited to educate people about that issue. We have a lot of things, as the mayor has said, to work on in the next years to come, but we're excited to launch this public awareness campaign. And all of September, we'll have a series of public events all throughout the month that people can learn more about this issue, and again, how they could be part of the solution, because it does take everyone to bring an end to this crime. Thank you.
If you go to the city's the website, shinealighthouston.org is up and running. And we have, well, I don't have the resource cards available today.
They have copies now.
You have copies of the cards. One of the things we tried to do is, could we distill to one small piece of paper the scope of the problem? And could we provide enough information to the average citizen on what the problem was and how to address it? And I think we've done a pretty darn good job, but it's going to take time to filter this information out. We see cases of, spectacular cases that make the newspapers where there's a rescue of women who are held in bondage in the back rooms of cantinas in Houston as sex slaves. But we know that nationwide and worldwide, the estimate is that less than 1% of the victims are rescued. Less than 1%. And we see often in certain parts of Houston, women working as prostitutes in public, on street corners. And I hear regularly how that is a victimless crime. Perhaps. But more likely, that woman today is underage. She's not a woman, she's a girl. And that there is someone in the shadows controlling her actions, taking her money, and forcing her into those activities. Our goal is to shine a light on all of these different aspects of human trafficking to try to make a difference. And then there's the hidden side of human trafficking. I'm going to call out some entities right now. I don't know of a so-called modeling studio in the city of Houston that is not a front for human trafficking, unless it is one of those that advertises in, there are some legitimate modeling studios, Page Parks and others, but the modeling studio on your local street corner is a front for human trafficking. There are massage parlors in Houston where you can get a really great massage, and they are legitimate businesses. And there are massage parlors in Houston that are fronts for human trafficking, where men and women have no choice to be there. There are domestic labor situations in Houston where someone is brought from another country to provide nanny services or housekeeping services. And then when they come to the United States, they find that they are not allowed to leave the house, they're not allowed to communicate with their family members, and they're not paid for their services. These are all types of human trafficking, and we are going to shine a light on that over the next months. I appreciate the council members who are standing with me. They are all committed to shining a light on human trafficking, and I appreciate the members of the committee who is the task force that has been working on this. I'll tell you that I might not answer all your questions today because we are leading up to another press conference later this month, but we want to start planting the seeds. And if you have any questions about what we're doing, I'll do my best to answer them.
Mayor, how difficult is it to prosecute or to find the owners of these establishments that you mentioned?
It's very difficult to prosecute, which is why we're going to shine a light on it. When you shine a light on things, cockroaches scatter. We may not be able to put people in jail, but maybe, just maybe, we can make a difference in the lives of those men and women, boys and girls who are being trafficked, and to be able to reach in and rescue some of them. And so we will certainly work in any way we can with law enforcement as they make the legal cases. Anyone else?
How big is this, as far as a crime issue in Houston? Is Houston got an exceptional level of trafficking compared to other cities because of our proximity to the port and
Yes.
International access?
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
There's nothing about Houston that would cause us to have a particularly higher rate in terms of us as a city, but we do and are considered a hub for human trafficking because we're a port city. We have close proximity to our southern border. We have easy access by boat into the greater Houston area. And because we are such a big international city, you have people moving in and out all the time. And that just makes us an easy hub for this. It's not a matter of resources or particular laws. It's just we're a big city, and big cities have more of a problem, but our particular location puts us right in the bullseye.
Mayor, what are the numbers for human trafficking victims in Houston?
on those?
That's a difficult question to answer. As the mayor had mentioned, this is a very hidden crime, and it's hard to make you can't really take a census of how many victims are out there. What I can tell you are the number of people that have been rescued in the city of Houston. Over the last 10 years, we've had over 500 people rescued, which I know you're all thinking that's a very, very small number when we're talking about this being a major crime. It's because, again, what the mayor said, less than 1% of all victims that are out there are actually identified and rescued from their situation. So that also is true in the city of Houston, even though there is a huge concerted effort to really raise awareness and law enforcement being out there to investigate cases and getting people prosecuted. So there is no way to really do solid research on that. So that's the numbers I could give you.
Can I ask you a question about something that doesn't have to do with human trafficking?
You can, but I wanted to finish on that one, and then
Mayor, who are the people that are behind you?
members, the council members, and I truly appreciate the council members being here, members of the task force, law enforcement, those who have been engaged in this effort, all of our community stakeholders that have been working to move us forward.
Mayor, how are you guys approaching these establishments in order to try to find human trafficking?
There's a law enforcement effort that goes on regularly, and we have some ideas that have been presented to me as mayor in terms of putting certain resources into the police department to allow them better tools, and I am committing to do that. But the awareness campaign is more about the public knowing what to look for. I don't want the public to go in and try to intervene. What we want is the public to be our eyes and ears to allow us to A, do the law enforcement side, but to B, do exactly what I said. When you shine a light on something, you start paying attention to something, you can disrupt the activities. And we think that people just being aware, knowing what questions to ask, if you suspect that there's something wrong, being able to make a phone call and provide information, whether that is we have a human trafficking hotline number, and I'm able to release that number right now. It's 1-888-3737-888. 1-888-3737-888. But we think you also ought to be able to call 311 at the city and have a 311 operator say, let me connect you to the appropriate place. This is about just spreading awareness up and down throughout the community.
Mayor, if you find somebody who's undocumented, do you hand them over to ICE, or do you report them or go through that process, or do you take them in and give them shelter?
That's an excellent question. If we find someone who is undocumented, they then become a witness in that situation, and they are provided protections.
Would they be legalized?
That's a different question. I don't know the answer to that, but they are provided protection, and they are given special status so that they can stay engaged in the law enforcement side of the process. Yep. Thanks for being here for that, and I appreciate so much everybody who stood with me today. And also know that the number of you will be covering this afternoon's roundtable with Senator Cornyn, because he intends to introduce some federal legislation on this issue.